Wednesday. I'm your host, Jared Gucci from WPFixit.com. So, I am a married man with 5 daughters, ranging in age from 2-year-old twins to a 14-year-old crazy about boys teenager. Now, you can imagine in a house full of little women, they're constantly coming to me to resolve issues. Over the years, I have actually mastered a 3-step approach to handle every issue my daughters bring to me. Step 1. This step is actually critical in making sure whatever happens does not escalate to a bigger issue. Calm down. Very first thing I tell my daughters when they come to me, calm down. Step 2. Explain to me what happened. Okay, I really need to get the details before I can make a decision on how to fix what they're going through. And step 3, Daddy will fix it. And by that, I mean I will ask Mommy what to do. So, these same 3 steps can be applied for troubleshooting any and all WordPress issues. Step 1, you want to stay calm. Step 2, you want to diagnose what happened. And step 3, you want to take action to fix it. So, with powerful platforms comes complicated circumstances. Apple employs over 98,000 people. About 30,000 of them are part of the Apple support team. And Google employs over 52,000 people. Over half of these employees are devoted to support and troubleshooting. WordPress is a powerhouse platform for bringing anyone's web dreams to life, but it can drive one mad from time to time. So, what are we going to cover? All of this. Actually, I would love to walk you through each and every WordPress issue that can arise, but not only would it take a lot longer than 30 minutes, it would not have any value to you. Troubleshooting is all about isolating a problem. It's not about trying to fix everything that could go wrong. When that little engine icon on your dashboard lights up, it does mean something is wrong with your car. It does not necessarily mean that you need gas, you need air in your tires, or your seatbelt is unfastened. Cars are so smart these days that most mechanics, all they have to do is plug your car into a handheld device and it will return the exact issue that is causing the engine light to display. But back in the day, mechanics had to use troubleshooting skills to diagnose a problem. What I hope to do right now, since there's no magic handheld device to find the cause of your WordPress problems, is to arm you with a great troubleshooting strategy. So let's talk about some of the common problems that you'll see when WordPress makes you want to pull your hair out. So this is the famous internal server error. I'm sure we've all seen this. We have troubles connecting to the database. Very, very common. The farce error. Oh yeah, we hate this one for sure. Uploading errors. And my all-time favorite, the white screen of death. So these are the usual suspects, I like to call them, and some of the very common WordPress issues that will come up. So the plan right now is to talk about why WordPress can break, what causes it to break, and how to troubleshoot those issues. Throughout this presentation, there are lots of live hyperlinks, which will be in italics, brown, and underlined. And these hyperlinks will take you off to ninja-style resources that will explain in more detail and offer some nice tips and tricks for the topic at hand. So if you would like access to these slides, all you have to do is email me at support@wpfixit.com. And you don't even have to write anything in the body of the email. Just put WCLA slides, and I will reply with these slides for you. Okay, so part of troubleshooting is understanding how popular the platform itself is. I think this is important because it can help know where to look when you're trying to find something. So WordPress is clearly worldwide. Over 50 million downloads of WordPress.org. We have 100,000 plus new sites created daily, 29,000 free plugins available on WordPress.org. We have 2,000 plus free themes on WordPress.org. And there are 346 WordCamps in 48 countries. And if you're not familiar with what WordCamp is, it is a seminar, workshop, class, all put together over usually a 2 or 3 day time period in different major metropolitan areas throughout the world. Very popular WordPress. So it is powerful, as we talked about already, and with great power, great things can happen. So let's talk about some of the things, actually the 8 main things that can cause WordPress to break. Okay, hosting requirements. This is a huge one, and a good way to kind of put an analogy on this is if you're familiar with something called a progressive dinner party. It is where a group of neighbors decide to host micro dinner parties where, you know, the whole neighborhood would go from one house to the next house, sampling a meal or a plate and kind of experiencing that neighbor's home and warm environment. Now what happens at the end of these progressive dinner parties, when the neighbors go back to their homes and they're by themselves, they sit down and make comments about all the homes they visited. So the reason I'm telling you this story is because selecting a good host for your WordPress website should be the very foundation of what you're trying to create online, because the host will really make a difference in the success of your website. Okay, outdated WordPress version. There are constant updates that come out for WordPress. There are sub-releases, which would be something like 3.9.2, 3.9.3, things like that. And then there are your major releases, which would be like 3.9 and 3.10. You want to make sure that you keep them updated for sure. Not only for security issues, but also for different scripts that those versions run. You want to make sure they stay updated. We have plugin conflicts. These are about 80% of the WordPress issues that I see out there. Very common. Again, plugins are not, most of them, if not all of them, are not developed by the actual WordPress engineers that write the core code for the platform, but they are developed by third-party developers that try their hardest to make sure they do not conflict with other things that your site might be running, but that's not always the case. So plugin conflicts are a huge trigger of WordPress issues. Then we have theme conflicts as well. Again, there are a lot of themes available on WordPress.org that for the most part do meet all the standards and are free from conflicts, but most of your premium themes, which are extremely popular out there in the community, are developed by third-party developers, and they try their hardest, of course, to limit the amount of conflicts that may be caused with other things you are using, but that's not always the case. We then have plugin and theme updates. You know, it's these updates, you know, that little icon with the number on it that you see in your WordPress dashboard is the same like that light that goes on in your car, the engine light. It means something, and it means that you need to take some action. These updates are important. They keep your site safe, and in a lot of cases they can help reduce or remove any conflicts that a plugin or theme may have. Malicious files on a server. This is a fun one for sure, because your website can get infected with malware, and what we've seen a lot recently is a file within the server will get infected or be placed there and infect other files, mainly the index.php file, and spread throughout the server. So this can be a cause of WordPress issues, but again, going back to having that good host and that good foundation for your site can help limit infectious actions that could happen on the server. The next one, local computer settings. A lot of times there are just browser issues or browser setup or internet setups with the router, with the internet service provider, just at a local level, meaning the person actually having the issue only. The rest of the people on the web are not seeing the same issue they're seeing. But there are a lot of browser issues that may cause you to appear to have a WordPress issue, but it could be something as simple as just emptying your browser cache. Then my all-time favorite is user error. And this definitely happens a lot, but mostly just by lack of knowledge. So hopefully presentations like this can help limit those user errors. Okay, so, jumped ahead too far here. Let's go back one here. Okay, so before you start any troubleshooting process, you really want to make sure that you have a good starting point that you can access later in case you need to, because if you begin your troubleshooting and you actually make the problem worse, you can use your starting point to restore where you first had the issue. Okay, so you want to make sure that step one, you have to make a backup, and you back up everything. We are talking about the core platform. We're talking about all of the files, the database. Just make a complete backup of your site. And I'm going to share with you a few of the backup plugins that I recommend to clients and people in the community. We'll talk about two of them, two categories, the free and paid. Under free, again, we're seeing some hyperlinks here, so you can click on those to get more information. But my all-time favorite in this list is Updraft Plus, and the reason I absolutely am married to this backup plugin is recently had to migrate a website that had 18 gigabytes in the uploads folder, and we actually used Updraft Plus to complete that, and it did take a while, but there were no hiccups, there were no failed downloads, and it worked really well. So Updraft Plus is a free plugin, and they do have some add-ons for migration and things like that. And then we do have some paid plugins that are highly recommended. Backup Buddy is a great one. Most of you have probably heard of that one. Snapshot is also a great one, put out there by WPMU. And then we have Manage WP, which gives you a dashboard for your WordPress website or multiple WordPress websites if you have them, and then you can back up via that dashboard. So there are two different types of troubleshooting strategies that we're going to explore right now. The first one is if you actually have access to the admin area where you can actually log in and you can view things and troubleshoot that direction. And then the second strategy is if you cannot log in at all. A lot of those usual suspect errors that I showed you earlier will not allow for login. So we're going to talk about how to kind of explore those strategies where you can't log in. So this is the easy stuff, okay? We are going to rule out all the possible easy stuff, and this is provided that we do have admin access, okay? Simple. The first one is just reverse whatever action you did before the issue started. Okay, and that sometimes that's easier said than done because your site can be working 1 minute and the next minute it can't. And you didn't do anything, and you're just baffled. But if you did do something and it caused an error, just reverse what you did. The second one is clear your browser cache and do a DNS flush. You want to rule out any caching issues that may exist to display the problem. And what the DNS flush does is it actually clears the cache from your router. So, and these are links that will explain how to do those in all types of browsers and routers. So that would be step 2. 3, you want to confirm that there's no pending updates. So we talked earlier about making sure that you look at that icon with the number on it and you actually take action when you see those. Okay, you want to complete all your pending updates. This goes for the WordPress platform, themes, and plugins. Reinstall WordPress or the plugin. So in the admin area, you can reinstall WordPress, and a lot of times this will actually fix a lot of the errors that we talked about. Or if you are using a plugin that you believe may be the root of your error, you can reinstall it. deactivate plugins. Okay, and this link will actually take you off to an area that will show you how to do it. But if you go in and turn off all of your plugins and you find out that the issue has gone away, you want to go back in and just turn them on one by one and check your site, and then you can isolate which plugin is causing the issue. Okay, so activate the default theme. I always like to make sure that there's at least one WordPress default theme installed on every site I work on, because if a problem does come up, I actually like 2012. I like to use that one mostly, but I keep it installed in the appearance section, and if there's ever an issue on the site and I'm troubleshooting, I like to activate the default theme and see if it takes the issue away. So then I've isolated the fact that the problem is within the theme. Okay. And one thing to remember with the activating the default theme, you do not have to worry about your widgets being messed up by activating and deactivating themes, because since WordPress 3.3, it actually will save your widget configuration. Okay, cPanel. Now, some of you that are listening to this may not know what that is, or may not have that as part of your hosting platform, but the cPanel is a web hosting control panel that provides a graphical interface and automation tools designed to simplify the process of hosting a website. It is not a scary place to be, and it can make your life a lot easier. I highly recommend selecting a host that uses a cPanel to allow their customers to manage their hosting accounts. I'm not going to walk through this slide, but I did want to include it in my presentation because the numbered list of hyperlinks you're looking at are extremely valuable when troubleshooting WordPress. These are some main tasks you may do frequently when a WordPress issue arises, but I'm not going to walk through each and every one of them. Okay, so we're going to have to diagnose a little bit deeper, assuming that we do not have access to the admin area. Okay, so this is the strategy that you would take if you cannot log into your site. If you have the white screen of death, if you have a farce error, you have no ability to actually log in and troubleshoot via the admin area. So the first thing you're going to want to do is, using FTP, you are going to rename the plugins folder to plugins off. And there's a full walkthrough of how to do this at this hyperlink you see here. But basically what this process will do is it will turn off all of the plugins in your site. So if you do this and then you reload your site and you can log in, you clearly have a plugin conflict. Second thing you want to do is, if step one did not isolate your issue, you want to reinstall WordPress manually. And to do this, again, using FTP, and this is why the cPanel slide was so important. If you're not familiar with FTP and things of that nature, it will walk you through how to get all that set up. But learning FTP can be such a good tool in your arsenal of troubleshooting WordPress. But you're going to access your WordPress files via FTP, and you're going to delete the WP admin and WP includes folder in the root directory of the site you're having troubles with. Then you're going to download the most current version of WordPress at wordpress.org, and you're going to drop in all the files from that download except the WP content folder. And that is so extremely important because your WP content folder is the folder that holds all of your themes, your plugins, and your uploads, which is going to be your media. So you want to make sure that you don't install the WP content folder from the download, because it will wipe out everything that you have. Okay. So if those first two things didn't work, the second thing the third thing you're going to do is reinstall the theme that you have activated manually. Okay. So you can download it. If it's a premium theme, you can go to wherever you purchase it and download a fresh copy of it, because that theme could be infected with malicious files, or maybe you were doing some editing in the back end and you forgot a colon or a comma, and you're just threw the site out of whack. So you want to reinstall your theme manually. And if you still are at a roadblock, you can open up your wp-config.php file, which you will find in the root directory of your WordPress install, and you can place in this code. Again, this is why these slides are important for you guys to have, so you can just copy and paste this code. And what will happen is once you do that and you go and reload your site, you will get some insight as to what the issue may be, because it will display some output at the top of each screen in your website. Okay, so that little bit of code can be really useful in kind of drilling down what you need to look for, what you need to troubleshoot. There is actually one thing on here that I will add to the slides that I forgot, but you can actually log into your database and change the theme to the default theme. So we talked about isolating to make sure it's not a theme issue, but you can actually log into your database and you can change which theme the site is using to load. And we would, of course, change that to the default WordPress theme. And then if we reloaded the site and it worked, then we knew we had a theme issue. So I'm going to add that into that slide there, because that's actually an important strategy as well if you don't have administrative access. Okay. Ever seen this? Oh gosh, it's one of the scariest things to see, and it's actually pretty funny because I did a presentation like this about 6 months ago, and the website that we were using to facilitate the presentation and run a malware scan on actually turned up having malware, and it was one of my sites. So, but it was a mistake, and it was a false positive, and there was no malware on the site. But it was actually very interesting. So yeah, so this is usually what Google will display if a website has been infected with some sort of malicious code, and it's to protect the visitor's computer from that code. So malicious code or malware can be a pain in the neck, and these are the steps you're going to take to isolate those issues and get them resolved. First thing you're going to want to do is run a scan over at Security, and when you run a site scan, it will return some information about where your infectious files are located so you can address it. If you have administrative access to your website, you can install a plugin called WordFence Security Plugin, and it will allow you a scanner that will scan all the files on your server, well, not on your server, but all the files within that website, and return information on the infectious files so you can address that and get them removed. Reinstall WordPress manually. A lot of infectious files are going to be injected into your core files, and these can be kind of really deep and really hidden within the folders of the core platform. So you can, again, delete WP admin folder and WP includes folder and reinstall those manually to make sure you clean up anything that could be infected. Reinstall a fresh copy of your theme. This is another area where the infectious code will rear its ugly head, so you want to make sure that you get a fresh copy of your theme installed. Deactivate all plugins. Okay, again, we're taking steps to isolate where this trouble exists. So deactivating all plugins will give you more insight. Check your .htaccess file for added code. A lot of times these injections will appear in that file, so you want to make sure that there's nothing in there that you did not put in there or that should not be in there. And then you can always ask your host to scan a server for malicious code. Most WordPress sites are set up on a shared server environment, meaning that if another site gets infected, which is, who knows what site it is, but if you share the same server, there is a potential that it could be infecting your site as well. So most hosts are very proactive in this already, but it doesn't hurt to ask them to scan your server for malicious code. And some hosts will even help you isolate the infected files within your own account. So you can reach out to your host for sure. And then once you go through these steps, you do want to rescan your site at Security, and it will tell you if you are clean. They do have a good support department there, so you can actually reach out to them if you have any questions as well. But yeah, you want to get that stuff cleaned up for sure, because you don't want your website to be blacklisted, and you don't want that Google warning to show up when somebody visits your site. So just wrapping up, a few odds and ends that you can try that we haven't covered. Some simple stuff for sure, but some things that many times will fix issues that arise. Verify your permalinks are set correctly and resave them. So a lot of times, simply going to your permalinks settings under settings in your admin area and just hitting the save button will correct a lot of issues, mainly the server error page issues, the 404 page not found issues, things like that. So resaving your permalinks will address those issues. And you want to make sure that the settings are actually correct as well. Make sure your site URL is correct in the general settings. So you have two URL options in those settings. You have your WordPress URL and your site URL. Your WordPress URL is where the actual files are stored, and then your site URL is where your website loads. So you want to make sure that that URL is correct. Make sure your browsers are up to date. We get issues come across, and people are using Internet Explorer 5 or Netscape. So you just want to make sure that web standards change and the browsers adjust for those web standards, and WordPress core, WordPress plugins, WordPress themes are developed based on the newest web standards and legacy so far back, but not all the way back. But you do want to make sure your browsers are up to date, and that's a good place to check as well. Contact host to report site down issues. Again, I talked about this earlier. Your host in many cases will be a good support partner when you are having website issues, and they can offer you guidance where to troubleshoot and how to fix the issue that you're having. And then this is actually one of my favorites, is to try the site that you're having an issue with on another computer or a smartphone. And what this will do is this will tell you if it's a local issue, if the problem you're having is computer specific or device specific, try another device. And I really like the smartphone strategy because smartphones load the bare minimum. They don't load in all the extra stuff. So if you can load up your site normally on a smartphone, chances are that it is a local issue with whatever other device that you are having a problem with. So these are just a few extra odds and ends that you can try to troubleshoot. So I just want to thank everybody for watching this, and I hope that this was helpful in gaining some insight to follow a strategy that will allow you to troubleshoot any WordPress issue. And it is important to know that you should always have a backup of your site, so when issues do arise too, you can restore, or you can download and update from your backup file versus being stuck starting over again. So hope this was helpful. And again, if you do want these slides so you can get access to those hyperlinks, please email to support@wpfixit.com, and subject line is WPLA slides. So okay, great everybody, thank you for listening, and I will see you next Wednesday on What's Up Wednesday.